Welcome back to the GTN show.
Yeah, this week we will be discussing the fact that $1 million worth of triathlon bikes are currently being withheld from their owners due to a dispute with TriBike Transport and their cargo company.
Matthieu Van Der Poel may be doing an Ironman.
Yeah, Sam Long is discussing training for 30 to 40 hours a week.
And a man that recently ran across Europe. Starting with reacts things we spotted on social media, on the internet this past week. As we've mentioned here on GTN before, we're big fans of Average Rob YouTube channel, and they have recently made a video with Matthieu Van Der Poel in which they go mountain biking with the legend. And they said at the end, if we can get 42,000 likes on the video, Matthieu will do an Ironman, which he agreed to quite enthusiastically, and they have smashed that. They're currently on 85,000 likes and quite a few views with that. So I think it's confirmed. We're going to see Matthieu Van Der Poel doing an Ironman at some point.
I think that video will get even more likes, won't it?
Yeah, go check it out. Amazing.
Yeah, nice stuff. On to something slightly more serious. Challenge Roth have just made an announcement about changes they're going to be making ahead of Challenge Roth 2024. And there's been various concerns over the last year or two, hasn't there, in Ironman or full distance racing of crowding on the course, etc. And there's an update here saying basically the first, or the headline, they're not going to be having their pre-Christmas auction where they basically raise money for charity by giving away more slots for next year's race, and they're trying to actually reduce the amount. So there's certain things are going to be changing. So they're not adding extra start slots from that. We've discussed it before that they're going to be introducing Race Ranger for the pros, which is really positive. We've covered that. They're going to be doubling the number of race officials, which is pretty huge, isn't it? Also going to be reducing the size of the start groups, but increasing the number of groups. So I think that's where the main difference will be. So I guess it'll be more spread out, but won't be such big groups. They're still going to be doing some fundraising for Christmas, and instead they're doing 15 individual starting places instead of the number they normally have, when you can buy a ticket and you go into the auction. So some positive changes. Sounds like they've been listening to what people want. And I mean, you rode it. It looked fairly busy out on
It is, the first lap, I mean, obviously I was the relay, so I went later on, so I was joining probably the masses on my first lap, and it was busy, that first lap. I wouldn't say dangerous, but it probably wouldn't have been too hard to find yourself in a bit of a tricky spot. So second lap was obviously much better, but I can see where they're going with that, and it's probably a really wise call, but a big move for them as well, isn't it? Yeah. All right, well, Sam Long has come out about training hours. He said that when he started the sport, he would quite often read about pro athletes doing these massive 30 to 40 hour plus training weeks. And he sort of took that as the gold standard. If he wants to be a successful pro, that's what he needs to be doing. Well, he's been back and sort of analysed all of this and his training and successes and realised, well, that's just really not the case. And a lot of athletes are overestimating, and he's sort of putting his hands up and saying he's possibly done that in the past himself. And actually, quite often he's saying most pros, their biggest weeks are probably around 30 hours, maybe a few hours over. And that's a few times a year at most.
Yeah, but he's also saying, what do you count? Because I know people used to ask me how many hours do I train, and there's still a lot of hours I trained, but if you actually take in the hours out of the day of driving to and from training, of getting changed after swimming, of driving to my riding lesson, it was always quite a long way away, of then doing a sports massage, of having a consultation with the nutritionist, all of that has to be done, and it's part of being a pro athlete.
And it's still kind of working hours as your job. It's
not like you're not there chilling out going, oh yeah, I'm going to do my psychology training now whilst watching TV. It doesn't work like that. So I think a lot of people, it's that line of what is training as well.
Yeah, so he actually is being quite open and actually posted up his biggest week of training where he does go into, I think it's 38 hours total training, but actually without swimming. It's just bike and run. So he's obviously just a massive bike and run volume for that week. And that was back in April of 2020. So
but we have seen Sam do some crazy sort of take on various theories, haven't we? So I like his questioning and his just honesty with all of it, basically.
Really cool.
On to the more science side of the athletes that we do follow, the Norwegians are back in Tenerife doing their testing in the flume pool, and they've got some oxygen measuring device, which is quite unique in swimming. You don't see that very often, do you?
Yeah, pretty cool. Sadly, we just missed them. I mean, I was literally in that flume a few days before they arrived, so shame we didn't cross over.
You could pace them to a few of their sessions.
Yeah.
After all that, something you did out there.
We also spotted Sebastian Kienle. Obviously, this weekend was his last race, which we'll get onto very shortly, but he had a very, very cool bike from Scott, which he is giving away as part of an auction for the World Bicycle Relief. So yeah, you can head on over and get your chance to win that bike.
Looks very cool, doesn't it? From the same race, so they were racing at Ironman Cozumel. Ruth Arstle was also on the start line, and I think had high hopes to take her fitness from Kona to that, but sadly she sort of put a bit of a long reflective post here and just says, not my day, not my year, and you have to feel for her. Basically, no swim, which I don't think was something that she was too worried about. We'll talk about that more when we come to the race results, but it was a TT start, so she, being a strong biker, found herself at the front of the bike quite quickly, which normally she'd be working her way up through the pack after the swim, and just said, tough on the bike, felt very lonely, and felt like a headwind the whole way. I think everyone knows that feeling. But anyway, the main issue, she got onto the run and her Achilles is not right, and she's been suffering with this for a long time. She managed to do the run in Kona, and was just outside the top 10 with that, but apparently after 6K she just had to pull the plug on that one. So I think she says 2023, I'm so ready for you to be done, here's to 2024, and I can feel that for Ruth. So an honest post there, but hopefully she can sort that Achilles soon.
Also, Tom Evans, the ultra runner, actually Sophie Coldwell's partner, who was on the podium for UTMB last year and also won Western States this year. He was out to do Ultra Trail Cape Town just this weekend gone, and unfortunately, in the few days prior, out training on Table Mountain on the trails, was mugged and had everything stolen off him, including his wedding band was actually cut off his finger, apparently. So anyway, he's put up this fairly emotional post saying, whilst he's physically okay, he's a bit beaten up, emotionally he's just not ready to race, and therefore has decided not to race this. So yeah, quite a shocking one, really. And
it is. It's not somewhere you expect that to happen as much as maybe something ahead of a big race as well. So gutting for everyone who wanted to see him racing, and for him, of course. Moving on back to triathlon racing, and Javier Gomez is back, which we've talked about, which is very exciting. On top of the podium, but we'll talk about the race results later on. It was his feet that have been highlighted here, and when you zoom in, you can see that that red stuff coming from his shoes looks a little like blood, I think. Yeah,
maybe all this time out of triathlon, his feet have got a bit soft and he's lost those calluses, and now he's suffering. Or maybe it's just because he didn't wear socks.
For a 70.3, not worth it. He won by enough time to have put his socks on.
Definitely did.
Anyway, I bet he's regretting that now. Our final post that we spotted this week was actually a story from Mika Newt, and he just put this picture saying found a endless pool just minutes from his house. And he's swimming in what looks like a rather fast-flowing, cold, brown river. So stay safe out there if you do go searching for endless pools.
Okay, now on to the Tri news, and a bit of sad news actually start off with personally here from GTN. As many of you may have seen and heard over this past week, we're very sad to announce the closure of our GTN Plus service and the GTN app. Now, if you're not aware already, it's actually part of our business. Many of you may have actually already subscribed, where you can access worldwide cycling racing coverage, and actually some of the triathlon races as well, such as PTO and Super League.
Yeah, well, sadly, the app will officially close on the 19th of December, and this follows Warner Brothers Discovery broader strategy to consolidate all of the streaming that they currently have and to put it into one platform so that their viewers, their customers, have all the sports they love in one place.
Yeah, obviously this is hugely disappointing for us here. Very proud of what we've built and achieved with GCN Plus. It's a single destination for worldwide cycling racing, and also not forgetting some incredible documentaries with that.
Oh, yeah, it is. But don't worry, GTN, GCN and all the other channels are still going to be here. And I think it's just given us that renewed determination to make sure that we keep delivering great content to you guys and continue to grow what was started so many years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, moving on to our hot topic this week, and it's around TriBike Transport. If you're not aware who TriBike Transport are, they are a company that can help you with the shipping and movement of your bike to and from events around the world. And they've ended up in a bit of a pickle around the recent World Triathlon World Champs in Pontevedra, Spain, getting the bikes back into the US.
So Horizon Entertainment Cargo are claiming that TriBike Transport currently owe them over $300,000 worth of unpaid invoices from the transport they provided for Ironman Nice and Ironman Finland, so the World Champs, earlier in the year. And as a result, Horizon Entertainment Cargo are saying, well, we are going to withhold the 180 bikes that we currently have because they're actually worth a value of around $1 million.
Yikes. Yeah, and this is where things get a bit messy because TriBike Transport claim that Horizon can't legally keep or sell these bikes because TriBike Transport don't actually own them. As a result, TriBike Transport has been granted a restraining order over Horizon Entertainment Cargo via a North Carolina court. However, sounds like that won't be very effective considering that Horizon Entertainment is storing the shipment of bikes in Chicago.
Yeah, and then it gets more complicated because Horizon Entertainment Cargo have filed their own lawsuit against TriBike Transport in Los Angeles, and they believe that they're within their rights to retain these bikes until this amount is paid.
Yeah, and additionally, according to the lawsuit filed by Horizon Entertainment Cargo, they are legally within their rights to sell the retained property within 30 days. Which is pretty scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like your bike, bye.
Yeah, it's not
watching,
cool.
counting down the days. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you are awaiting your bike from the recent Ironman World Championships in Hawaii, or actually even from the weekend's races from Arizona and Cozumel, you won't be affected by this. Unfortunately, it's just this one shipment of 180 bikes. So if you are including that, we are really sorry to hear this because it's really by no fault of your own, and hopefully this gets resolved very quickly.
Yeah, I've heard that USA Triathlon are involved and are trying to sort of help at least sort people with bikes if they've got races coming up and things, but I don't know the full details on that. But I think if TriBike Transport are still afloat, they're not going to be for much longer because everyone's going to stop trusting them and start taking their bikes themselves to races. Well, there's some big news in ultra trail racing. There's been a new launch of the World Trail Series. Now, this is a bit of a brainchild of several race organisers who've come together and basically want to give athletes, runners, the option of an alternative global trail series, basically, that they say has the heart of the community and local events at its core. And as a result, they want to identify three main aspects within that: diversity, respect, and identity. And there's a lot of talk around working with nature and keeping that local knowledge and that local resource in where those races are already established.
Yeah, now obviously this could sound like a bit of retaliation to the negative press that we've discussed recently here on GTN around UTMB acquiring the rights to an event in Whistler and booting out another event. But they have responded and assured followers that it's actually not in response to that, and they're not trying to address those issues at all. Instead, they actually just want to offer a new path for anyone interested in ultra running or the existing ultra running community. And in fact, it's actually been something they've been discussing and trying to form for a number of years. They've just really booted it into action. Yeah,
so they've actually got a quote here that says, World Trail Majors was born with the purpose of uniting these historic races that, due to their philosophy of caring for the environment, their historical heritage and their natural beauty, are a dream for both professional and popular runners who seek to know the origin of trail races, ultra distance mountain. And then they've got a list of events that are spread pretty evenly around the world.
Yeah, pretty cool. China, America, Spain, Japan, Portugal, Switzerland, UK, Canada, South Africa. I mean, I fancy them all. But
they're all very established races, aren't they? That's the thing. It's not like, this is not new races coming to the fore, but it's putting all of these established races into one group.
Pretty cool.
I'm sure there's a lot of people getting excited by this announcement.
And finally, we've got this pretty epic feat. This landed in my inbox actually a couple of days ago, and I have to say I'm just a bit gobsmacked by it. So Jake Casserole is training for a solo crossing of Antarctica. In doing so, he's been sort of training for that by doing some other grueling challenges. And this is just one of them. So he collaborated with Odlo, and on the 7th of November completed a crossing of the European continent. So he started in the northern point of Norway, Nordkapp, and finished in Tarifa, Spain, the most southern point, ran between 70 to 80 kilometers per day and completed it in 94 days.
Yeah, I can't begin to get my head around it, so I'm not going to try. But Jake's route was actually apparently modelled on the popular bikepacking route, which takes the most direct route down to the south, going through Sweden's rolling hills. However, he heard about how beautiful Norway was and decided that, I might add a little bit extra, and I'm sure this is many miles extra we're talking here. So he went via the coastline of Norway, and that actually ended up meaning that he broke a world record in the process. But one of the cool things, he was having a constant GPS tracker, obviously partly, I guess, for safety and for showing his record, but also so people could come and join him. And he was encouraging people to come and join him anywhere along the way. In every city that he ran through, he did social runs and sort of advertised them on various social platforms. So hundreds of people were joining him, which I think probably helped as well. But during this, he was also raising money for the charity Right to Play, who help transform children, getting children into sport. So, it was like a real purpose to his event as well.
Pretty cool. He's actually given us a couple of stats here. Quite impressive as well. Longest run, 81 kilometres. Most consecutive running days, 60. I imagine he probably had the odd day off here and there, but 60 consecutive days of doing that sort of volume is mad. Fastest marathon, 3 hours 18. Fastest average pace, over 70 kilometres, 4:46 per kilometre. That's pretty good going. You said weight lost over 94 days, 7 kilograms. Toenails lost, just 1.5. It's not bad, actually, considering.
We'd be nowhere near that between us three.
Yeah, cars broken down, 1. Sadly, there was probably a bit of a story to that one. Kind of makes mine and James's upcoming challenge look like nothing in comparison. We're planning to do a marathon every day for a week, but this is mind-blowing.
Step it up, Mark, come on.
But stay tuned for our challenge coming up. It'll be hard. Well, it will for us anyway. Maybe not for Jake, but anyway, very impressive.
It really is. On to tech news, and end of season has a few positives. You get to put your feet up, relax, but also you keep an eye out because there's some great end of season sales. And Surpass have their own end of season massive 40% off all of their tri-suits. Now, this is up until the 28th of November, so you've got just less than a week to go and check out and grab yourself an awesome bargain on those suits that you see the likes of Christian Blumenfeld wearing. So if you want to be as fast as him, well, maybe it doesn't come...
And us.
Well, and us, yeah, if you want to be as fast as us. Something like that.
Also, some cool new wheels from Princeton Carbon Works. Well, they're not new, actually. It's a new evolution or generation of current wheel. So it's the Wake 6560. They've actually already had 4 iterations of this wheel. It's now in its 5th iteration. Apparently this is their largest step forwards in terms of performance with that. So it now has a new patented radially staggered lacing, which took me a while to get my head around, but from what I understand is it's staggered lacing between the deeper and shallower parts of the wheel depth, which turn apparently makes it a lot stiffer. It's also got slightly wider rim profile and also lighter, so making it better suited to 25, 28mm tyres that people are more often racing on and using these days. And also, as you'd expect, more aerodynamic and it increased yaw angles. But the bit that really got me was it's available in 10 different colours, including gold and chrome.
That wasn't the bit I was expecting to get you, Mark.
Cool, isn't it?
It's that type of year to get into anything kind of gold and sparkly, isn't it?
Well, talking of gold and sparkly and cool looking things, we've got this from Baldisso One. It's called the Baldisso One from Baldisso and Carbon Works. It's pretty wild. Yeah,
now Baldisso say that they reckon that they are, this is their quote, on the verge of an exciting revolution. Now, this bike has no seat tube, so they're obviously fully aware that it is definitely not UCI legal. It doesn't follow that usual triangle format that any bike that is going to be racing has to follow. Although they then point out that why does a bike have to be designed for racing? As a lot of people just like to go out and enjoy bikes. They say here that they believe that there should not only be bikes made for racing, but also road bikes that please the eye of the rider. Bikes that are just fun to ride. And it might motivate the rider to train more than just knowing that you're going to be more aerodynamic and 90 grams lighter.
I like that it says that knowing that the bike is maybe 2% more aerodynamic. It's like, I'd like to know that it's 2% more aerodynamic. Also, you might be interested to know that it comes with a 9-gram bottle cage.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, isn't it? Well, they are about to go live with the Kickstarter crowdfunding, and you can also pre-order a frame set from €5,540 with complete bike starting at €9,770.
I can't work out if I like it or not. It's hard to tell from a photo. What do you?
I'm going to leave it out there. I'm not gonna, let us know in the comment section down below.
On the fence.
But now for the race news, and this weekend the big race has to be Ironman Cozumel. The opportunity for a lot of athletes to punch their ticket for the Ironman World Championships next year, get that early qualification, take the pressure off, which obviously would be quite nice. It's also a notoriously fast course, but unfortunately we didn't get to fully see that this year because of some issues around the swim. Now, prior to the race, Ironman actually decided, due to the choppy conditions, they were going to delay the start by about 30 minutes. And then the athletes were poised and ready to go, only to find out that actually it was going to be a bike run race. We were going to cancel the swim altogether. So then they set the athletes off just a few seconds apart in a TT format on the bikes. Now, it became a two-way battle quite early on between Sebastian Kienle, who was in his final race of his career, which is pretty exciting, along with Leon Chevalier with Cam Worth a little way back in third. Now, in the final quarter of the bike, Leon put a big push on and actually opened a gap up to the chasers, of which at that point was Chris Lieferman, who'd moved up into second. So he had around 3 minutes 14 going into T2 on Chris Lieferman. And then the gaps just continued out. Leon running away with the win and Chris Lieferman in second, with Sebastian Kienle looking like he was going to take third. In fact, he crossed the line in third, but alongside Robert Wilkiewicz, who actually started 15 seconds back. So he theoretically took third place. So Sebi had to settle for fourth, which is still awesome for his final race, but at this point, not to see him quite on the podium.
And not to have a full Ironman for his final race. I bet he was a bit gutted. I saw a quick clip of him sort of being diplomatic ahead of the cancellation of the race start, but sounding a bit disappointed. Even though we know swim's not his strongest point, I think, you've put it all together. But so it affected obviously the dynamic of the women's race as well, as we've touched on already. Ruth Arstal was out on her own at the front of the bike for a considerable amount of time, and she actually had a lead of almost 6 minutes coming into T2 ahead of Angela Nathan and Svenja Toes, but that all fell apart 6k into the run, and that was her day over, sadly. Svenja Toes then came through to take the lead and was looking strong. However, running from behind was actually Gurutz Frades, who apparently by halfway point had already eaten up 5 minutes of that deficit and then went on to take the win with an overall marathon time of 2:49.23 to give her the win by almost 7 minutes ahead of Svenja Toes in second, and Marlene de Boer finished in third.
Yep, well, we also had Ironman 70.3 Mossel Bay over in South Africa. Slightly smaller fields for this race than we're used to seeing over in South Africa. I guess maybe down to the time of the year. Normally have their 70.3 in January time. But anyway, it was Emma Pallant-Brown that took the win on the women's side, and on the men's side, we had Javier Gomez.
Worth the bleeding feet for. Then there was Ironman 70.3 Fortaleza, and that was won by Ellie Salthouse in the women's race, and Martin Van Riel won the men's race.
Very cool. Over in Florianopolis, we had the challenge race there, and that was won by Bruna Stolf on the women's side and Philippe Santos on the men's. And
then there was the Laguna Phuket Tri, which Kate Waugh and her partner had actually sort of labelled as an end of season, let's go and do a longer distance race for them and just sort of make a good holiday of it. And they certainly did that in style. So Kate Waugh took the win, just a minute 40 ahead of Julie Deron, and Sophie Malaviecki was third in the women's race.
And over in the men's race, we had Max Stapley, her partner, taking the win there. I think it was actually quite a hard-fought race, actually, between him and Max Studer. So Max Studer taking second, but it took Max Stapley having to really push on in the run to get that ahead of Anthony Costas in third.
Yeah, well, their holiday will have started pretty well, won't it?
Well, coming up this weekend, we have Challenge Canberra, and then actually in a couple of weeks' time, we then have Ironman Western Australia and Ironman 70.3 Indian Wells.
When does the season end?
It doesn't now, Heather. This is it. It just keeps going. It's wild.
Crazy, isn't it? It's time now when we take a look at your photos, and the theme for this month is triathletes doing other things. Yes, believe it or not.
What's the limit on this? Like, how far can we go with them doing other things?
I think it needs to be related to physical activity.
Just checking.
But then saying that, I think knitting would be fine, if that's what you want to share with us.
Go wild. Test us.
Yeah, we are loving.
Heather is checking all the photos for this, so feel free. Go for it.
I mean, we are loving the submissions. I mean, this first one is Mikkel in Fulong, Taiwan. And when I first looked at these pictures, I thought, oh, it looks a bit cold, and didn't take in he's in Taiwan and realised that that's actually humidity.
Yeah, quite the opposite of things.
So this sounds like it was part of a triathlon which had a trail run. So he joined for the 20k trail run, had some bad weather, and the run had to be adjusted as a result. But enough of a challenge even so. And then he says, running through the muddy jungle is fun, and the reward after was an amazing hot spring. And he says, we have races coming up in December, but who can resist a run in the mud? I mean, we love running in the mud, but we don't get the delight of a hot spring at the end, do we?
Well, yeah, I was thinking after a really humid, muggy run,
you want a cold
whether I want
pool.
to jump in a hot spring, but maybe that's...
I don't know. I would have liked to have jumped in a hot spring after a cold, muddy run on the weekend, that's for sure, but I'll keep dreaming.
All right, this one from Matthieu Bozeman. It said, during the winter, my dad and I go ice climbing in the North American Rocky Mountains. This particular photo was actually taken in January of this year. Still waiting for the ice and paid time off this year, just outside Bozeman, Montana.
That's pretty cool. That's a very different activity, isn't it? So is this one from Rebecca in Michigan. She says, some of my favourite off-season activities involve rock climbing, cross-country skiing and trail running. But as a university student studying education, I spend a lot of time lesson planning and grading papers. The bulk of my time, however, is spent in the practice room practising marimba and playing my violin in preparation for our performance of Handel's Messiah.
You should have sent us videos.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
That would be very cool.
And a final one, actually, unfortunately, comes with no description, no names, so whoever you are, give us a shout in the comment section down below. But it does look like a cross-country team perhaps competing in their state champs.
Yeah, there was a video of sort of all the clips and it said something about state champions. So I'm not sure if they are state champions or it was a state championship that they were competing in.
I know there was the NCAA cross-country this weekend, just gone, if it was that recent. But, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Let us know in the comment section down below. And well done to you. Say what? All right, comments we've spotted under videos the past week that have tickled our fancy, got us talking. First one actually comes from, it's under James's video in which he did a triathlon purely off run training. And this one from Quivardis, 5172, got me, said, a lekker session and a lekker run. Lekker, man, lekker. In case you don't know, lekker in South African is slang for sort of good,
great,
great.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't think James said lekker in there.
I mean, I've never heard him say it.
I'm not sure I have, but...
Maybe they just were appreciating his accent and his run.
They were. Yeah.
Anyway, this other comment comes from Paul Fo4PY and says, I'm not a triathlete, but I love cycling and running, in brackets off-road and trail running. Can you give me some tips to train for both?
Well, Paul, you're in luck. If you're new to our channel, then keep tuning in because that's exactly what we do here on our channel.
Oh, yeah, and it's what we love doing as well.
Yeah, so thanks for all your comments. Keep them coming and go wild, test us, have some fun, and maybe you'll feature and say what next week. Yeah, you never know. Well, we've still got plenty coming up. Mark, James and myself have been trying to master yoga for a month. That video is coming up. We've still got our final test to go, but keep an eye out for that on the weekend. And Mark has been doing a lot of swimming, as we alluded to. Well, all in one go, I think, yeah. I attempted every Olympic swimming event in one go, so stay tuned for that one coming up. But as we mentioned earlier on, James's video in which he tries to do a triathlon on run training alone, that is already up. Go check that out. And if you enjoyed today's show, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe.